Hello and welcome to online class with me Nusrat Alam, lecturer in English, Milestone College. How are you all, my dear students? I believe you all are fine and very busy with your studies right now. My today's online class is on a very important topic from English grammar. And this item is called the heart of English grammar. Yes, I'm talking about right form of verb. Without having proper knowledge on right form of verb, learning English is never complete. Not only that, a sentence in English cannot be constructed without the help of a verb. Take an example of the simplest sentence that you can think about. For example, my name is Nusrat. How are you? I'm good. In these sentences, my name is Nusrat is, how are you are, and I am good am. All three are verbs. It means we cannot construct a sentence, a simplest sentence, without the help of a verb. So you can easily understand how important it is in English. In English grammar, it has been given the highest importance, and that's why our today's class is also very important. According to the new syllabus, we find right form of verb in English second paper, question number 4, and the total mark of this item according to new syllabus is 7. We are going to have 14 problems. Each problem has 0.5 marks and total 7 marks. Today, we are going to solve an exercise, and while solving them, we will discuss elaborately what are the rules these items are following. And before doing that, let me ask you something. My dear students, do you know all the verb forms? Do you know what are the auxiliary verbs? And do you know what are active subject and passive subjects? You need to have clear idea on these items if you want to solve or if you want to attempt right form of verb successfully in your exam. So, I'm going to briefly discuss about what are the auxiliary verbs, what are the different forms of verbs, and what are active subject and passive subject. First of all, what do we understand by active subject and passive subject? Well, let me tell you two sentences. Saqib al-Hasan played well, but the team was defeated. Here, Saqib al-Hasan is a subject, and what's the verb next to the subject? Played. And the action of playing is possible by the subject Saqib al-Hasan. But in the next sentence, the team is the subject, and what is the verb that we have? Was defeated. So, defeating, the action of defeating is not possible to be done by the subject, the team. This action fell upon the subject. So, in these two sentences, we can clearly see that the action in first sentence, the action was done by the subject. In the next one, it was not done by the subject. It is not possible to be done by the subject either. So, in these cases, the first subject, Saqib al-Hasan, is called an active subject, and in the next one, the team is called a passive subject. So, from the subjects, we can understand the sentence should be in active voice or in passive voice. If the subject is an active subject and the action is possible to be done by the subject, then the sentence should be written in active voice. And if the subject is something that the action cannot be done by the subject, should be written in passive voice. So we have to be very careful in our examination, or whenever we are solving these items, we should be careful whether the subject is active or passive. If it is passive, the sentence should be written in passive voice. Then let's move on to auxiliary verbs. What are the auxiliary verbs? Auxiliary verbs are those verbs who are used in a sentence to help the verb to express its meaning clearly. And they are am, is, are, was, were, have, has, had, shall, will, been, etc. And there are different forms that the main verb can have. What are they? We often hear that V1 form, V2 form, V3 form. What are they? V1 form is the base form of verb. V2 form is the past form. V3 form is the past participle form of the main verb. And then we also have a gerund form, which is V1 plus ing. And then we have S or ES form of verb, which is the singular form of a verb. Actually, if the subject is third person and singular, only then we use s or es with the main verb. And then we have infinitive form, which is 2 plus v1. My dear students, as I told you earlier, today we are going to solve an exercise and we will elaborately discuss what are the rules these items are following or these answers are following. So let us go and attempt the question. This sample question has been taken from Nabodut test paper, special model question 96, question number 4. Let us attempt the question first. My dear students, we have taken this sample question from Nabodut HSC test papers, special model question 96, question number 4. Let us read the context and text. And here you can see that read the text and fill in the gaps with the correct form of verbs as per subject and context. 0.5 marks is given for each problem. We have 14 gaps and total mark is 7. So we should read the text first, and the topic of our today's text is cooperation. And the example of cooperation is given in the later part of this passage. So let's read it and solve the problems. Cooperation means to work together for the benefit of all. Without cooperation, modern society exists. We all know without cooperation, modern society cannot exist. And that's why we need cooperation. And what's the meaning of cooperation? Cooperation means work together. My dear students, here you must notice that we have the subject cooperation, and for the subject we have the verb means. So means is the finite verb that we already have. Then what is the work of this second verb? This second verb, work, is a non-finite verb. And as I told you earlier, non-finite verbs are infinitives and participles. That's why we have to use here participle or infinitive form. In this context, a participle form is the best choice. So the answer is cooperation means working together for the benefit of all. The rule is given also over here, non-finite verb, participles or infinitives. Without cooperation, modern society exists. This sentence is a statement and in negative form we have to answer it. That's why cannot exist is the correct answer. Modern society cannot exist. Next slide. Cooperation see at its best among farmers in the dry regions of some parts of Australia and America. We can see the best example of cooperation in some dry regions of Australia and America. So notice the subject over here. Subject is cooperation and the verb is see. My dear students, you should carefully notice that if the action given in the sentence is not possible by the subject to perform, then that sentence should be written in passive voice. By the subject cooperation, it's not possible to see. This action is not possible to be done by this subject. That's why we should use the passive form of see. And according to the subject, we have used is because cooperation is a singular subject, and then V3 form of the verb see is seen. Is seen at its best among farmers in the dry regions of some parts of Australia and America. The fields irrigate in this region. Again, in this sentence also we have the subject fields and the verb is irrigate. The action of irrigating is not possible to be done by the subject fields by themselves. It is us who do it, and the fields are passive subject. That's why again we should follow the passive form of verb over here. Fields are plural in number. That's why we have used are, and irrigate, the V3 form of irrigate is irrigated. The fields are irrigated in these regions. Crops not grow without water. It is an statement, but my dear students, according to the text, the demand of the text is this context wants to say that it is not possible by the people of this region to grow crops
without water. Even if you want to write this sentence in active voice, you might also be correct because crops don't grow without water. But according to the context of this passage, we need to use passive form of verb. That's why we can answer it in this way. Crops cannot be grown. Crops cannot be grown without water. Why are we using passive voice here? Because it is the demand of the context. That's why. You could also answer it in an active form also. But according to the context, we are using passive voice. Water bring to the fields without streams being tapped higher up. Subject is water, verb is bring. We can easily understand it's not possible by water to do the action bringing. So, in this case, water bring the answer should be is brought. The water is brought to the fields without streams being tapped higher up. Or again, we have used passive form of voice. For this purpose, canals and dams built. Canals and dams is the subject over here. Built is the verb. Is it possible by the canals and dams to be built by themselves? No, it's not. That's why again use the passive form of verb. Canals and dams, the subject is plural. That's why we are using are, and the V3 form of build is built. Next one, the canals cut through the fields of more than one farmer. Again, subject is canals, verb is cut. So we have to use the passive form of verb over here again. The canals are cut through the fields of more than one farmer.
My dear students, have you understood so far we have discussed? You should always be careful what is the subject that we have and what is the demand of the context. And not only that, you must have noticed that several sentences are written in passive form. So, let us solve the rest of the question and be careful as well.
Those who lived higher up the valley than the other allowed to build canals through their land in order to carry water to the fields of farmers lower down. So, the people who are living or who are farming in the lower land, they are allowed to build or cut canals through others' lands so that they can carry the water. So, those who live, subject is who, and the action of living is possible to be done by the subject who. So, we should use here an active voice. People who live higher up the valley than others. So, as it is a statement, we are using the active voice. It's a general information and the subject is plural. That's why we have used live. Then the others allowed to be allowed to build canals through their land in order to carry water to the fields of farmers lower down. Subject is others and the action is allow. But my dear students, who does it? The other people, those who are living high up, they allow people to dug canals, and that's why these others are not doing the task of allowing. So again, we have to use passive voice here. The people who are living up, they allow these others to cut the or build the canals. That's why we are using passive voice again. Others is a plural subject. That's why we are using are, and allowed is the V3 form of allow. In times of drought, all be to share the water. All is our subject over here, and we have to use be verb. We can easily understand all is a plural subject, and that's why we have to use an auxiliary verb after all. So we can use are. We all are to share the water. Instead of take all water for themselves, the farmer on the higher land leave enough for their neighbors down the valley. Instead of dash, instead of what? Take. Instead of this verb doesn't have a subject before it. So we can easily understand this is a non-finite verb, and non-finite verbs are participles or infinitives. So we have to use the gerund form or be-on plus ing form of take. The answer should be, instead of taking all water for themselves, the farmers on the higher land leave enough for their neighbors down the valley. Farming in dry areas made possible by such cooperation. Farming in dry areas. Here, what is the subject? Farming. Farming is the subject, so farming does not do the action of make. That's why use the passive form of verb, is made. Farming in dry areas is made possible by such cooperation. And farming was a singular subject, we have used is. In the next one, by cooperation, farmers have learned to make even the desert produce crops. Even the desert produce crops. My dear students, here let me tell you, after make and help, check out these rules. After make and help, use bare infinitive. Right form of verb rules tell us to use bare infinitive. What is bare infinitive? We all know infinitive is 2 plus be1. So bare infinitive means we should not use to over here. And do we have the verb make or help? Yes, we have it. Make even the desert. That's why use a bare infinitive. Make even the desert produce crops. As we have make, that's why we should use only produce.
My dear students, did you attempt all the items by yourself? Then tell me, what is your score? I believe you have understood all the rules that I have discussed over here. Still, if you face some problem, please don't forget to ask your teachers. I believe you should always give high importance in this item, right form of verb, if you want to do good in English. With the hope of your better result and better education, I'm going to end up my today's class here. See you some other time with some other topic. Till then, bye-bye.